All right, so for chapter 3, we're going to go over e-business. And the book starts by going into Polaroid. It was founded in 1937. It produced the first instant camera in 1940. The stock price was $60 a share in 1997. It was only 8 cents a share in 2002. So within a 5-year period, it went down to 8 cents a share. The company ended up going bankrupt. So the company failed to look at the industry and see where the competition was going and to try and compete. They just kind of stuck with what they were doing. And they lost out to 1-hour film processing and digital cameras. And then you also had phones and photo printers. And they even have these printers now where you can hook it up and it's like a little bar and it'll just print. And they have scanners the same way. So they had a lot of competition come in and they just failed to analyze their processes and just keep changing. They just kind of stuck with the way they were doing things because it worked. It's that old mentality of if it's not broken, don't fix it. But just because it's not broken doesn't mean it doesn't need to be fixed. Or just because you can't tell it's broken. Okay. So digital Darwinism implies that organizations that can adapt to new demands are doomed to extinction. So basically, if everyone around you is changing and you're not, it's going to be harder for you to catch up. Workers need to stay up to date on knowledge to remain competitive in their market. So if you're like a network administrator, if you work on computers, you need to keep up to date with new software, new techniques, new hardware, all of that in order to stay competitive in your market. The same thing for companies. They need to know what's going on. They need to know when they need to change. And they need to understand their customers as well. So you have 2 types of technology. You have disruptive technology and you have sustaining technology. Disruptive technology causes a big change in the market, kind of like the iPod and the iPad did. Sustaining technology improves a product in order to help organizations stay dynamic. So the way Microsoft redid their operating system to kind of match the slide that the Apple operating system used is kind of an example of the way IE keeps changing to match the way the other browsers are doing things that customers like. That's an example of sustaining technology. So steamboats, transistor radios, and the 8088 processor were all disruptive or sustaining technologies. Some examples of disruptive technologies, again, Apple, with their iPod, their iPhone, iPad, all of those changed the industry that they entered. Charles Schwab added online brokerage. Hewlett-Packard had the microprocessor-based computers, inkjet printers, which were much quicker. Personal computers from IBM, QuickBooks, TurboTax, Quicken from Intuit. Being able to do your taxes on a software program that could give you tips and hints changed how a lot of companies do business in terms of personal taxes. Microsoft, they have operating systems they came out with, SQL, Access, the Kinect is new in the video game industry. First you had Nintendo that changed things with the Wii because they're motion detecting as opposed to moving, buttons around, hitting buttons, moving those little pads. Kinect actually uses your body as a controller. So it just changed that industry. But people still like the traditional controllers, but it was still a big change. And I'm thinking if that wasn't copyrighted, I'm sure there'd be a lot of copycats by now. And database software, and then transistor-based consumer electronics. The Wii was really the biggest game changer in the gaming industry because PS3 and Xbox had better quality gaming graphics, but the Wii still sold really well because of the controllers and how easy it was for even non-gamers to use. Okay. The ultimate business disruptor was the internet. It completely changed how we do business all over the world. It kind of cut down barriers and created more and more information, more collaboration. And then here's some terms involving the internet. You have the World Wide Web, which is how you access all that information. HTML, they're links. HTTP, basically how you request the web pages through the link. Actually, HTML is more, it creates links and creates graphics to where instead of having, DOS used to be like text, where you'd have to read the text, type in when you wanted to change something, you'd have to know where you wanted to go, where, and that's with the operating system. With the internet and then, you know, the graphical operating systems, HTML kind of was one of the first programming languages to where you could create graphical websites and not have to, you know, click through links. And it was just one of the first graphical. It was very basic though, Java, I think XHTML, CSS are all, it does a lot more, but this was one of the earliest. But HTTPs helps you get to the website you want to go to along with the URL. It's the address of a file or resource. So basically apple.com is the URL, but apple.com without the www is the domain name. And this part changes based on the type of website you have. You know, .gov, .edu is education. So if, say you go to a website and it says www.fasfa.com, that's not FAFSA. FAFSA has a .gov because it's owned by the government. So that's kind of a good security measure. And the book said the internet was first, DARPA had something called ARPANET. University systems, they're kind of the first ones to adopt new technology, or even to develop new technology. Them or the military. The military often is one of the first developers. Universities often are the first to research it, work with it, utilize it, change it. That's why Lamar wants the ability to patent the research it does, because then it can make money off of that research. So here, the World Wide Web is how you access the internet. Websites are formatted using programming language such as HTML, and then they're accessed using the URL and HTTP. So it's just a little background on the terminology. Again, these you may have seen them so often that, like with me, they're to the point where you almost don't think about the definition. You just know what they are. And that's pretty common, because a lot of you have already seen this before. Now with Web 1.0, that was the original internet, you know, the early years, 1991 to 2003. Well, it's actually the World Wide Web. Internet was originally at, you know, military and university. It's when it became more commercialized. E-commerce is the buying and selling of goods and services over the internet. E-business includes e-commerce, but also includes internal, external business activities that go along with e-commerce. And then the paradigm shift is a new radical form of business that enters the market and reshapes the way companies and organizations behave. So kind of like Amazon, and they came in and changed a lot of companies. You know, you had brick and mortar stores that stopped selling. Amazon came in with their Kindle, which changed, that's a disruptive technology. It changed how people read books. But it also made it to where Barnes& and Noble had to update their website because, you know, they were losing out to Amazon. And then just a new way of doing things. So it's kind of like a disruptive technology, but it involves businesses and the change in the market through new business techniques. Another example of those might be green companies that are coming in. Okay. Reasons for the growth of the World Wide Web: microcomputers. So an average person can own a computer. They don't cost $10,000. They're not, you know, 10 tons. They're not, you know, huge. Advancements in networking hardware, software, media. You can connect to larger networks, less money. Easy to use browsers, you know, Internet Explorer, Firefox. You have Chrome now, Safari for Apple. Speed and convenience of low cost of email. And that, remember, this is Web 1.0, back in 1991 to 2003. Email's still used, but it's not as big a thing as it used to be. And then basic web pages are easy to create. Okay. This thing's going kind of slow. Okay. All right. E-business disruption of traditional industries. In the auto industry, you had autotrader.com. Allowed not only you can not only sell your own car online, but the dealership can list their cars. So it increases their market base, and it also increases buyer power. Buyers have more ability to shop around, but dealers have a wider market they can choose from. So even if they have to list the car lower than they might on the lot, they're more likely to sell it because they have more people that buy it. And there's always a markup of some kind. Online continuing education is popular. A lot of nurses have to do continuing education every year for their license. They can do that online now, not have to miss work. Retail companies that sell products online tend to make more money than those that don't. And then travel companies, Travelocity, Orbitz, Expedia. Many of the travel agencies actually closed because these sites charge, they actually give a discount to the customer. You often pay less there than you would at a travel agency, and you don't have to pay that travel agency fee. And it's a lot easier, quicker. You can compare different offerings than just what the travel agent shows you. And there's some more examples here. You have publishing, entertainment, and financial services. Okay, the advantages of e-business. You have expanding global reach, opening new markets, reducing costs, improving operations, and improving effectiveness. In terms of expanding global reach, you can communicate with more people all over the world. Now you even have software that'll translate what you say, and fairly accurately, not so accurately with some languages like Japanese, but it's getting better. So you can communicate with people all over the world, even if you don't speak the same languages now. Customers have more information available. You know, you can log on to your account and see past purchases. It's a larger customer base for your sellers, for you sellers. You know, if you want to sell a product, if you go to southeasttexas.com, you have a certain number of buyers in this area, but you have a whole lot more if you go to eBay or Amazon. But those sites are going to charge you a commission rate because you're paying to have access to that customer base. Not limited by size, location, and time, and it's available 24/7. And the other great thing about online e-business is you can offer products that you wouldn't normally offer in the store. For instance, you might offer a niche product like maybe customizable products, or products that you may not want to buy in bulk, like maybe specific patterns or specific sizes, like maybe petite or tall or plus size. You could have those online to where you don't have to have a big quantity in store where it may not sell as well, so that if it's not available in the store, those customers can go online and purchase it. So again, here you have customization and you have personalization. You can tailor products or services to the customer specifications. As I said before, you may have limited sizes in the store and carry more sizes online. You might have a wider color selection for a particular pattern online. And personalization online, a lot of times you go to a store online and they may have, oh, you bought this before, you may like this. Hey, this is on sale. You normally buy this. Do you want to buy it? Imagine going into JCPenney and then suddenly everybody knows what you like and has recommendations for you, or they call you up and say, hey, this is on sale. That's personalization. It's a lot easier to do online. And then reducing costs, improving operations, and improving effectiveness. Online companies remove the need for a middleman. For instance, when HP sells a computer, the way it used to work is that they would produce the computer, a supplier, retailer would buy that computer and then sell it to the customer. Now you have it to where they can sell it directly to you. The only problem with that is you don't want to leech off your retailers. If they sell a product online and it's cheaper than what the retailer is selling, then they just bleached off their retailer. So they have to be careful of that. Maybe a product's going out of stock, they can put a big sale on it, or maybe a limited time coupon, for only the people with that coupon get that price. Things like that. The stores may have cheaper, more, less thrills version models, or online you have to buy the full model. Kind of like when you custom order a car. If you custom order a car, you can't go get the base model. You can buy the base model, yeah, but they're still going to charge you for a brand new car, where if you go on the lot, maybe, it's been there, maybe they'll be willing to let you chew them down, but if they have to order one for you, you pay base price plus any add-ons. Customer service improvements, you have fax online. HP has guides on how to upgrade your memory. They have all kinds of guides online. So it can improve it because they don't have to call for every little thing. Customers can, do it themselves and not wait on hold. And then you can improve effectiveness. You can have revenue generated by your web traffic. And yeah, examples of that. Yeah, because you may have someone visit your website, but if they aren't buying anything, you aren't making any money. So you're effective if you can bring that customer to your website, they use it, and they're making purchases. So it has to do more with like internet advertising, because if you're paying for these ads and they're not buying anything, you're losing money. And then your website has to be effective to where it's usable and customers can get in and get around and buy stuff, not to where it's constantly giving them load errors or things aren't working. Then it's not effective. All right, e-business falls into 4 categories. You have business to business, you have business to consumer, you have consumer to business, and consumer to consumer. So business to business, it's buying and selling from each other over the internet. Businesses, it actually makes up 80% of all online businesses, according to the text, and it needs more security than other types. Business to consumer, that's where the business sells to you. That's where HP sells its computers to you online. Consumer to business, There's not a whole lot of those, but that's where you sell a product or service to a business. Maybe you are a designer and you design clothes and you're selling it to a retailer, or the book gives an example of Priceline.com where you name your price and then a company decides to supply you at that price. So you're not actually technically selling a product to them, but you're setting your price. So it's kind of, I'm not sure on that one, but the good one I can think of is the fashion designer selling their products to a retail store. Then again, you could think of them as a business, so it's kind of an iffy topic for this one. Okay, and then consumer to consumer, you know, eBay, Craigslist, SoutheastTexas.com is where you're selling your product to someone else. So it's resale. Okay, so business tools for connecting and communicating. The oldest one is, of course, email. And then you have instant messaging, which is like email, but it's faster. You can send a message to someone instantly, kind of like texting on your phone, and then they can reply back to you. Podcasting is where you can do kind of like talks that you record. Video conferencing connects people simultaneously, where you can share data, documents, displays, whiteboards. It helps with telecommunication. You might use Skype, Adobe Connect. Web conferencing, it takes video conferencing, but it also blends in document sharing, and you can deliver a presentation. So these two kind of go together. But this may be more, you know, a presentation of some sort, a lesson, a meeting. So it's a little different. Content management systems help to create, store, edit, and publish their website. They're usually user-friendly, have a web-based publishing, search, navigation, and indexing. And they let users with little or no technical expertise make website changes. Some example of that might be Dreamweaver. It kind of lets you manage your website, and all of your pictures can be stored and links them, and it takes a lot of getting used to, but it is pretty usable for non-technical users. All right, the challenges of e-business: identify limited market segments. Basically, that's where the growth of e-business is limited. Maybe the products are perishable or they're fragile. So you have to be able to identify those markets and know that e-business might not be that good for you. You've got to manage trust. You know, you might not be comfortable buying something online with your credit card. Companies like PayPal have helped with that, and VeriSign verifies, you know, that that website is legit. But there's still perceived risk in doing business online where you may not perceive that when buying in a store. You may feel it's easier to steal your credit card information online than it is for someone to steal your purse at the store or your wallet. So one way to build trust is secure your connections. Maybe have a HTTPS where someone's typing in a credit card as opposed to HTTP. Being available if your customers need to call you, or you might provide testimonials or ratings like Amazon does. Ensuring consumer protection. You need to protect customer data, use encryption, password protection. You also businesses need to adhere to the rules governing the storage of consumer data, such as credit card numbers, because if you're storing that data, there are rules. You need to make sure that that data is protected, because I think they had a big fiasco with, I think, Visa, or there was a company that was storing credit card numbers that should not have been, and the database got hacked. So there was about 100,000 people whose credit cards got stolen, credit card numbers. So you have to not only manage consumer trust, but also protect your consumers. All right, taxation rules. Amazon used to not charge sales tax. If any of you bought years ago from Amazon, And you notice they added sales tax at one point, or state sales tax. That's because a new rule went into effect that any online business, if you have any property in that state, you have to charge sales tax for those residents. So if you have, Amazon's got storage locations all over. If they have one in California, you're in California, you have to pay sales tax. So they have to charge sales tax and they have to pay sales tax to California. If California has sales tax. I'm not sure on that one. But I know Texas does, and they have storage in Texas, so they pay sales tax for Texas. Okay, so advantages of Business 2.0, of Web 2.0. Web 2.0 is the next generation. It pushes collaboration, sharing, and free. So you might have open source software, sharing of information. We all want everything to be available. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, collaborating is a big thing. Wikis, Wikipedia. Let's see. The advantages of Business 2.0. Move that up. Okay. Sharing content through open source, user-contributed content, collaboration inside the organization, and collaboration outside. Open source is basically software code made available for any third party to review and modify. So it could be that there's a open source code out there and maybe someone has built upon it, and then there's more additions added. Maybe some users have added content, and then you have the software. And usually it's free, and they might ask for donations. I gave some examples. You do have iPod free applications, but Apache OpenOffice is a free version of, it's a free software that can open Microsoft Office files. So you can open a Word document, you can edit it. The only difference with this and any open source software is it's not going to be exactly the same. So buttons might be in different places. On GIMP, it has a lot of the same features as Photoshop, but they're in different places, and it might not be as graphically friendly or as user-friendly as Photoshop is. But it's also a lot cheaper because it's free. So with these, you have to know how to use them. VLC Media Player, it has all of the codecs that Windows Media does not. So there's a lot of files you can play, like international discs, things like that. As long as your hardware can play it, it can play it. And then Avast Free is a free antivirus software. It's one of the only free versions that has a boot scan, meaning it'll scan your computer before it loads. Meaning it'll scan before the virus loads. So if the virus is hiding itself or blocking it from finding it or blocking the virus scanner, it'll still be able to catch it. And that's all in the notes. I know this is a kind of a long chapter. All right, user contributed content, YouTube, Wikipedia, Flickr. Reputation systems are important. You may post feedback for sellers. The reason it's important, and also they don't call it reputation systems on Wikipedia, but you have to have some sort of protections in place. YouTube will look for adult or spam content, whereas Wikipedia has to have certain user restrictions. You can't have everyone be able to go and edit when Washington was born, when the Confederation, not the Confederation, what's a good one? When the Civil War started, when it ended, all that stuff. All of those facts shouldn't be changeable by anyone. So basically, Wikipedia has user access levels. Certain users can change almost anything. Certain users can only change certain content. And then other users can go and view the changes that user made. So with any user contributed content, there has to be some sort of controls in place to protect the information and make sure that it's accurate. So collaboration within within the organization. You have collaboration systems. You have collective intelligence, knowledge management, and knowledge management systems. So the sharing and flow of information, collective intelligence is like collection of knowledge from all employees, partners, customers. It's kind of where, one example I give is Walmart has a training system where new employees can go in and watch videos and train in almost every area, and then go and train in their specific area to where they can get an overall knowledge of how everything works and then learn their specific area. So you have a collaboration system where everyone kind of collaborates and shares information. And then you have the collection of that intelligence and the knowledge management system that uses it. So it's kind of like instead of every new person has to come in and learn all over again, you can have maybe new ways of doing things, maybe common practices, best practices can be taught to them instead. Okay, collaboration outside. You can also have, so where inside you might be sharing information between employees, like maybe cashiers have information that, you know, stockers in the back need. You have outside bodies that can provide knowledge and information to the company. Crowdsourcing means collective intelligence is greater than the individual parts. So the overall knowledge is better than just one person's knowledge. An example might be like Starbucks created that website at one point, or blog, where you could post ideas. Walmart also, they do it more internally, where you can give ideas for improvement. But Starbucks allowed customers to do that at one point. And they used it in order to try and improve their product based on customer needs. So you can look outside or inside of the organization for collaboration. Now, networking communities with Business 2.0. Now the big thing is social media, social networking. You have Facebook, you have Twitter, LinkedIn is for business, for if you're linking with like your boss, with students you graduated with, you can, you know, share contacts, kind of like networking in order to find jobs or to improve your knowledge in your area. So social media is beneficial in a variety of areas, from marketing to applying for jobs. You can use it in order to market products. You know, a lot of companies have Facebook pages now, but you can also use it to apply for jobs because you can see what that company is doing. You know, what's their big thing right now. You can learn about the company, and it really looks good when you know what the company is doing in terms of social media. Okay. So tools for collaborating. You have blogs, wikis, and then you have mashups. Blogs, they're mainly used as a marketing channel, like the My Starbucks idea. Wikis, they're collaborative pages that allow users to add, remove, and change content. So it's kind of like Wikipedia, but Wikipedia, again, you have to have protections so that you don't have incorrect information. And then mashups is where it uses multiple tools. Dole Organic has their website where you can go with Google Earth and a database, and you can track bananas where they're raised and learn more about the farm. So those are just some collaboration tools. Now there are challenges with Business 2.0. You have technology dependence, information vandalism, and violations of copyright and plagiarism. Technology dependence, we're more and more dependent on technology to the point where we can barely go a few hours without it. You know, you might have a cell phone at home. If you left it at home, would you go back for it, or would you stay at work all day? Would you be able to spend a week with no internet or no technology, you know, out in the woods? Some might, some probably would go crazy. If the world suddenly had no technology, no internet, I don't know how long our society would last. So you have dependence on technology now, and then you have, more information available, so more information, more vandalism can occur. Because not only do you have more information to the point where it's hard to know what's going on all over with everything. If you have, the bigger a company is, the harder it is to know what's going on in every section. The more information, the harder it is to notice when something's being vandalized. And the more information you have, the more information those who want to vandalize have. Copyrights, plagiarisms, those are getting worse and worse again. It's harder to detect. I mean, they have better methods of detecting now, but the more and more information that's out there, the easier it becomes for them to be able to copyright and plagiarize without someone noticing right away. The next stage is Web 3.0, which brings machines closer using information. So Web 1.0 was static text-based information websites. Web 2.0 is user-contributed content, which brings people closer together with information using machines. So Web 3.0 is, like we said before, is going to use more artificial intelligence, machine-based learning, reasoning. An example might be, I thought we had an example on here. I guess not. Machine-based learning, reasoning, and intelligent application. Kind of like where maybe you go to a search engine. Oh yeah, I did have one. Where you might type in something like weather, and it's going to pull up a chart with your weather for your area. Or you might type in calculator, and a calculator comes up. So, it may, where before you might type in weather in Beaumont or weather in Houston, now it'll know where you are. So that's an example. It's using intelligence. It's understanding something about you from the information it's gathering. Or something about, maybe you have a Google account, it's pulling information from there in your Google search. I think they even have now where you have your social media, and you'll have your social media posts here. Maybe you're searching for a trip to Hawaii, and maybe it'll tell you which of your friends have posted about Hawaii. So with the move online, you have more and more governmental websites moving online. It improves the delivery and quality of information. You can access census information, tax information. USA Jobs is all federal jobs. This is where they're posted. FirstGov gives you governmental information. StudentLoans.gov is the student loan website. Again, the .gov tells you that's governmental. And then, of course, you have the IRS.gov. So mobile business is becoming more and more popular. It's where you can do business almost anywhere using a smart device, a wireless device. And that's where eventually we'll get into cloud computing. That's where that comes in. But you have mobile entertainment like Netflix and Hulu, mobile sales and marketing. You might have marketing, ads, and games, or pay by phone. You have mobile banking, where you can do checks by phone or access your bank on your phone. Mobile ticketing, that's where they can ticket you mobilely. Mobile payments. You may pay your bills, process purchases. They have these card things you can plug into your iPhone where you can scan a credit card. They can sign on the phone. And that's all part of Web 3.0. And it's getting kind of long, so that is it for Chapter 3.